What up, family? It's Notch back with another reaction. This time with Lil Ruby Tuesday and her abusive ways. They got another update with Law and Crime. This one specifically is called Victim of Jodi. And Jodi being her business partner. I guess YouTube business partner. So, lawyer for Ruby Franke's husband tells all. Blames YouTube mom and partner. So the husband is supposedly blaming Ruby and Jodi. There's a little synopsis down here. Let me try to see what it says. So the lawyer representing the husband of Ruby Franke spoke to the Law&Crime Network about his knowledge of the child abuse allegations pitted against the YouTube mom and her business partner Jodi Hildebrandt. Randy Kester said Kevin Franke is a victim of Jodi, who is the spearhead, quote unquote, of this horrifying situation. Kester blamed Hildebrandt, stating she caused all of the destruction in this case. Well, let's see what they got to say about that.
In my case, I found that as my kids got older and older and older, you know, wherever you live, there's this community, this network of parents, and I found myself constantly in comparison with other parents.
The attorney for Ruby Franke's husband, Kevin, comes on to explain his client's current situation, whether he played any role in the alleged abuse of their children, and when he spoke to Ruby Franke right before her arrest. Welcome to Sidebar.
I got so many questions about this. I'm so ready for this. Y'all ready for this? Hit that like button if y'all ready to see this video. I got so many questions about what's the boy name? What's his name? Kevin? Got questions for you, Kev.
Presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. So we're continuing our coverage of the Ruby Franke case, the 41-year-old Utah mother of 6 who rose to online fame when she and her husband Kevin Franke started a now defunct YouTube channel called 8 Passengers. It documented their lives, their parenting style, homeschooling. Well, now Ruby Franke, along with her business partner and content collaborator Jodi Hildebrandt, have each been charged with 6 felony counts of aggravated child abuse. Police were alerted after Franke's 12-year-old son escaped Hildebrandt's residence, ran to a neighbor asking...
Could you imagine if the son never... How old was he? How old did they say he was? Let me put those captions on. They say 12?
His 12-year-old son...
He was 12 when he escaped. Could you imagine if he never escaped and no one found out about the situation?
Escaped Hildebrandt's residence, ran to a neighbor asking for food and water. He was found emaciated with deep lacerations, duct tape on his extremities. This is really horrible stuff. But then it was compounded by the fact that when police arrived, they also found Franke's 10-year-old daughter in similar condition. Horrible story. But there is one person in this story that people are talking a lot about, and that is Kevin Franke. Now, while Ruby's husband...
I got questions for you, Kev. Franke
has not been criminally charged by authorities. His role has taken center stage. It's got a lot of people talking. Well, joining me right now to unpack that is Kevin Franke's attorney, Randy Kester. Randy, thanks so much for coming here on Sidebar.
You're welcome.
I think the best place to start is, how's your client doing right now?
He's busy. He's struggling, trying to make sense out of what's happened to him in the last 13 months, and kind of coming out of a fog.
So in other words, he was completely taken off guard by these allegations, completely shocked?
Absolutely shocked.
How? How do you not know your son and daughter are thirsty or hungry? Like does he travel for work? I'm gonna wait. Let's hear a little bit more.
Where was he when he found out about this?
He was at work.
And how did he find out? He found out on the news? Did someone call him?
He got a call from Ruby.
He got a call from Ruby Franke.
Correct.
You mean while she was after she was arrested?
Before.
Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. She had heard what was going on and knew they were coming for her and called him and said, "This is an emergency." Even though she hadn't reached out to him for months and months and months before that, she reached out to him when it was an emergency, knowing she could rely on him to help his kids.
So in other words, you're saying she knew the police were coming to arrest her. She calls Kevin to say, take care of the kids. How did she know the police were coming? Because again, the reporting indicates is that her son had escaped that house and called and went to a neighbor, and that's when the authorities were alerted. Do you know how she knew they were coming?
I would never want to predict anything that she might know. Kevin doesn't know. He doesn't know. I don't know how she knew what was going down. All he knows is he got a text from her that said, "Emergency, I need to speak with you." He was at work and text back and said, "I'm at work. What's up?" And she said, "I need to speak to you immediately."
And then they spoke on the phone.
Correct.
And that's when she told him.
Well, actually, I think most of it was, they did speak on the phone.
So they spoke on the phone, and when she told him that the police were coming, what did he say?
She actually didn't say that. She just said, "You need to get down here."
Need to get down here. And what did he say about that?
And he said, "Down where?" And when she told him that she was in Ivans, he responded and said, "What are you doing in Ivans?" And she then told him that.
What type of relationship do they have? It's not like this is just like a boyfriend and girlfriend. They married with 6 kids, and you don't know where she's at. To the point where you say, "What are you doing there?" Like, y'all don't talk on a regular. Like, are they staying in different states or something? Are they separated? Like, what type of situation is going on where you don't know where she's at or your kids at? And again, I don't got kids, so I don't know how people roll once kids come. Maybe this is a normal thing. I highly doubt it. But how do you not even know where they at?
The kids were down there. Some of the kids were down there, and he needed to come down. And he said, "Well, how long have you been in Ivans?" He wasn't even told that she had taken the kids to Ivans.
Let me unpack that a little bit. So, first of all, their current status, were they separated?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Are they not together? Do they not have like a good relationship right now? Are they parting ways, getting divorced? Were they not talking every single day? Because they ain't happy together. Something ain't right for them not to even know the current state of a person's location, especially if that's your wife. You want to know where she's at to make sure that she's okay and protected, especially with kids.
Correct.
They were separate.
Oh, okay.
Current status, were they separated?
Correct.
They were separated, I read, for 13 months, so they weren't living with each other. How much was he seeing the kids?
Almost not at all. Actually, not at all.
Wow.
Why is that? Why is that?
Because she told him it was better, that they needed to work on their marriage and needed to keep their family together, but that everything was better off with him not in the home and not communicating with the children.
How? Obviously not. Clearly not. He can't even see the kids. At the same time, there's still there's some responsibility that goes to him, just due to the fact that these are your kids. There are 6 of them, and you should have. I mean, we all know the games and back and forth that comes with, visitation rights and all these other things that goes on or whatever. But who knows? Who knows what she's saying, whatever, because she sounds like a master manipulator. So I just need to do a little bit more fact finding.
If you can, why were they separated? What was the catalyst?
I probably shouldn't go into that. That's pretty private.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just say they were, they had a difference of opinion about their family.
Parenting? I know you can't talk about it, but is it that kind of where we're going?
Correct.
Okay. So let me again.
And their own personal dynamic.
Okay. So he was living separate from her. Was he
Interesting.
calling the kids? Because I think what a lot of people are looking at this and they're wondering, well, what did he know? So he might have been living separately from her for 13 months, but he wasn't calling the kids, checking in on the kids, seeing how they're doing? He's the father.
I totally understand that. And that was the big question on my mind and the big question on a lot of people. If you read everything that's in the media, he's getting raked over the coals for that. But what people don't understand is that he was trying to preserve his marriage. He was taking direction from her. She's the one who asked him to leave the house and indicating that in order for him to be able to get back together with her and be a family, that she was requesting that he leave the home and that he not contact them or the children. Later told him that everything was blissful at home. It was so much better without him.
Did he ever believe that the kids were in danger? Did he ever believe that Ruby might have been doing something to the kids?
He had nothing to indicate that.
So again, I know you're limited.
So what's interesting is this makes a lot more sense. The fact that they were separated, because I'm just like, how do you not know if you stay in the same house with a person and not one of your kids come to you and let you know something inside or whatever? But or you not go to them and see how they doing, how was their day, how was school, how was this or that, whatever. The issue is this last 13 months is when they haven't been living together, and based off of what I was hearing from, you know, previous videos and the other videos, it seemed like this has been going on for years, more than just 1 year, like multiple. And is he not just like looking at the videos? Is he not interacting with his kids? Like what's going on that you didn't even know? Or even look at some of the comments, right? Look at some of the comments of what people are saying as far as her parenting style and stuff like that. Like if you can't see your kids in person, but she's still posting on online or whatever it may be, and you know there's a lot of backlash as far as what's going on and how she's parenting. You don't see this either. You don't see nothing. That's interesting. And it has to be something that comes to your mind when she say, don't reach out to us, kick you out. Like some type of light bulbs had to go off.
And what you can say, but just again piecing that together, if Ruby Franke told Ruby Franke told Kevin that, you know, it's better off he's not part of the home, and, you know, that he lived separately from them and not to have any contact. He just took that as, okay, that sounds like a good idea. Or did she prevent him in any way from seeing the kids? Did he want to see them and talk to them and she told him no?
Emotionally, she was controlling him because she knew how much he valued their marriage and valued their family, and it was his desire to be able to get back with the family and preserve his marriage. So he was taking direction from her, and her direction was, it's so much better off, and I think we can salvage our marriage if you just, for now, don't have communication with the kids, and I will communicate with you. I'll reach out to you when we need to have communication.
That's
and even
crazy.
Though they had a difference of opinion, possibly about parenting, that never gave him a concern to, hey, you know what, maybe I should check in, because if it seemed like it was a big enough issue for them to separate, it didn't seem like an issue for him to check in on.
Kevin never had any reason to believe that his children were being abused. If he had even one inkling that his kids were being abused and that this separation wasn't for any other purpose than to figure out a way between he and Ruby to reunite their family, he would have been down there in 2 seconds.
Do they
he just
currently
had no idea?
He had no idea. He had no idea that this was going on.
No, physical abuse had never been a part of their family.
Let's try to fast forward this a little bit.
How was he that shocked if he knew that, you know, they were working together?
During that conversation, things were said that made him realize how he'd been deceived and misled. And as I told you earlier, he didn't even know the kids were in Ivan's.
You just said that he knew that Ruby and Jodi were working together.
Correct.
So how was he that shocked if he knew that they were working together and maybe she had brought the kids with him? I mean, did he not think that perhaps Ruby had taken the kids to Jodi's house?
Typically, she would tell him something like that, but she didn't. She'd have the kids down there from about late May, I think maybe June, until this all came about. And she didn't tell him one thing about taking the kids to Ivan's.
What does he say about Jodi Hildebrandt?
That she's manipulated him in conjunction with Ruby. That she's been kind of the spearhead toward essentially destroying his life and destroying his family.
How did Jodi and Ruby get connected? Does Kevin know?
I don't know. I don't know.
Is Kevin believing that perhaps it was Jodi who was manipulating Ruby in this? Or because it also sounds like Kevin feels he was manipulated by Ruby. Is it just all the blame on Jodi?
I think it was a team effort, but with Jodi being the spearhead and creating a situation that's just caused all of this destruction of his family.
Why does he believe that Jodi is manipulative? What makes him believe that?
I probably shouldn't go into that, but we recently reviewed.
Had to pause it up for a minute. Reina called. Let's get back to it.
An interview.
Side notes, make sure y'all hit that like button if you like these reviews and reactions, and also hit that subscribe button if this video just popped up in your feed, because we do lives. We're trying to get back into doing it on a weekly basis, all right? But we also do these recorded ones, and if I'm popping it in your feed, it's for a reason. It's because the algorithms want you to subscribe, so tap that subscribe, and let's get to it.
With Jodi's niece, who described to the public exactly what she had done, what Jodi had done to the niece and her family, and we're hearing other information that she's done this to a number of families.
What?
And it wasn't until this all came to light that Kevin came to realize that his family had also been victimized by Jodi.
Have the authorities reached out to your client?
Oh, certainly. He's interviewed with them.
And they see him as a potential witness?
They haven't said that.
So Jodi out here terrorizing the communities. Jodi out here getting her feet in everybody's business and everybody's family. That's why I always say you can't be out here telling people your family business. Don't be out here letting everybody know the specifics within your household, talking about what's going on and all this stuff, because you're giving people information and the insight they need to know to penetrate inside of your family home and obviously do some of these things, and you end up on Law and Crime being quote unquote victim of Jodi. All right, keep the Jodis out the family.
He was interviewed with them the day this all occurred. He drove to St. George to get his children, and they met him and interviewed him.
I guess when people are looking at this, and they know this is not an isolated incident, because you and I both know that the Frankes have been under a close eye for quite some time. There were people who suspected that the kids were being abused or were treated too harshly. So even putting aside the arrest of Ruby Franke, your client was receiving criticism for quite some time over the parenting techniques.
That's what I brought up. Where, yeah, they've been separated for 13 months. But prior to the 13 months, based off of, I've never seen an episode or a YouTube video from them. I've seen that name before, 8 Passengers. You know, they just recommend videos and all that type of stuff or whatever. I never actually saw a YouTube video of them. But based off of all these videos, these Law&Crime videos and all this stuff that I've been checking out, everyone's been saying that they've been receiving criticism for some years based off of the parenting styles and all the stuff they've been doing and, you know, their ways. And I don't even know if he's in any of their actual videos. Maybe he's not in none of them, but he's definitely seen that feedback. He's definitely had to, at some point, seen a comment on the YouTube channel. Nobody has a YouTube family channel about your kids, with your kids involved in the YouTube channel, right? The camera's in their face and you're posting and you got 2-point-some million views. Even if you got 100,000 subscribers, even if you got 10,000 subscribers, 1,000 subscribers, 100 subscribers, with that type of catalog of videos, lots and lots and lots of videos about your family. It's not like it's an extended family member. Your kids. You see the videos, even if you don't watch them all. And if you don't watch them all, you definitely see those comments. At minimum, everybody read comments nowadays. Everybody look at the comments. I didn't used to do it for a long time. And then I realized it was an enjoyable part of the information that you consume and to see what other people's feedbacks and reactions to certain things were. Which is why we have these type of videos, because you get to hear different people's perspective about situations, right? That's why I watch reaction videos and channels, and why we also have one where we're looking into true crime related, you know, incidents and situations, because it's always interesting to hear and see other people's perspective on stuff. So he definitely saw some other people's perspective on their parenting style. You can't convince me of that.
What is his response been to that?
There hasn't ever.
You can't convince me that he hasn't. Correction.
Ever been an allegation that Kevin Franke has ever physically abused his children. And I think
he's moving the goalposts. He's changing the narrative. That's not the question that, what's the guy name? What's his interviewer name? Jesse. That's not the question that Jesse asked. Let's rewind.
Even you and I, when people are looking
at him and interviewed him.
Listen to the question, then listen to what he just said as far as his answer.
I guess when people are looking at this, and they know this is not an isolated incident, because you and I both know that the Frankes have been under a close eye for quite some time. There were people who suspected that the kids were being abused or were treated too harshly. So even putting aside the arrest of Ruby Franke, your client was receiving criticism for quite some time over the parenting techniques. What has his response been to that?
Your client has been receiving criticism over some time for the parenting techniques. Not necessarily that his parenting techniques, but the parenting techniques. Listen to his response to that.
There hasn't ever been an allegation that Kevin Franke has ever physically abused his children.
Where are you getting physically abused from if he says criticism over the parenting techniques? He didn't say he received feedback for his physical abuse on his children. That wasn't the question.
And I think all these parenting complaints, those were investigated, and I think it's a subjective thing. Parenting is, as everybody says, no one's ever written the perfect book on parenting. And so while there may be some criticism of their parenting as being too strict or too demanding, that's been looked into, and there were never.
Now that part I do agree with. Like, who's to say how one should? This is not any defense due to this specific situation, because I still don't, even to this day, based off all the videos I watch, I still don't understand the full scope of everything that has happened with their kids, right? But more so as far as there's not one right way to parent, right? There's not one straightforward way. Maybe some people's ways are a little bit more strict, maybe some are a little bit more loose and let them do more so like what they want to do. They have all that's true, right? So I do agree with that, but that not necessarily saying that applies to this situation.
Any DCFS charges filed, there was never any criminal charges filed, and particularly, and I want to emphasize this, Kevin Franke has never been accused of physically abusing anyone, including his children, nor have there ever been any allegations that he was doing that. He doesn't condone that kind of thing. He's a good dad. He just simply does not condone.
Okay, let's skip through.
From where Kevin lives, and so most of those in his kids.
Does Kevin plan to attend the rest of this criminal process for Jodi and Ruby, the hearings, potential trial?
Well, the hearings are taking place down in Washington County, down in St. George, which is about a 2.5-hour drive from where Kevin lives. And so most of those, he's probably not going to attend. If they require him to attend, he'll go. But my guess is he probably isn't interested in attending those.
Does he plan to cooperate, or is this a situation where he may decide to plead the fifth and protect his rights?
Well, thus far he hasn't been accused of any crimes, and in my view, I don't think he's committed any crimes. So, and he's had pretty much full disclosure through the juvenile court, which my understanding of that discussion, he simply alleged that he hasn't committed any crimes, and I don't believe they believe that he has. The police haven't.
So let's wrap this up. We've been going for about a little bit over 25 minutes. So, yeah, he hasn't been accused of any crimes. The thing that I'm interested in is, what was his role in parenting the kids from the beginning? Like, was it more so he was laid back and just allowed the wife to do whatever she wanted to do, parent how she wanted to parent, he just took a back seat to the whole situation? Like, where is his leadership and his guidance and rule setting and do's and don'ts and the structure of the family, for it to get to this point where she thinks it's okay to not only starve your kids and dehydrate them and make them suffer at such young ages, but let somebody else in and influence them, meaning Jodi, let somebody else in after she's done it to other, and maybe they didn't know that she did this to other people, right? Maybe she's a little sneaky, a little snake, but to let her in and influence how people are or how they're raising their kids and what they're doing, and it's like, what is all this for? But point being, where is his guidance? Where is his leadership in this whole situation? Like, it just seems like he was very standoffish or backseatish or afraid of her in some shape or form, where he didn't even want to, set rules when it comes to what happens and what doesn't, and the fact that she feels it's okay, or to do all these things that's being accused of, even if he hasn't been in the house for the last 13 months. It's just pretty wild, That's just a wild situation. So I guess we'll keep taking a look at this. Y'all make sure y'all hit the like button, hit the subscribe. If y'all want more of these videos, drop them down in the comment. Let us know what you want to see next, and we'll be sure to get a reaction video done to that. Until then, I'll catch y'all later. Peace.